Hi everyone, thanks for joining today's webinar. My name is Jorn. I'm one of the co-founders here at Wordapp.com. Today we're talking about Zapier and Wordapp.com, which work very great together. I'll try to keep it short today, but today's main outcome is one, that you know how to set up an Elite Wordapper payment sheet using Zapier, and two, so that you also understand how to use Zapier with Wordapp as a publisher or project manager and what advantages it actually has. Since you're here, you most probably know already what Zapier is. For those of you who don't know, Zapier is an automation tool. It connects different web apps together for you so that you don't have to do any sort of coding or special things to connect apps together. There's two big points that, two components of every Zap. One is a trigger, the other is the action. And how this works in detail, I can explain you a bit better when we actually use an example of Wordapp.com. The trigger in Wordapp is always a publisher approving a task in Wordapp. What happens when you connect Zapier to Wordapp and you approve a task is that we take all the task data, the content, the keywords, the publisher name, the date, who started the project, and a whole lot of other things, and we send it to Zapier. When you get it in Zapier, you can use that data to take an action. And that action is any other app that is integrated with Zapier. You can start doing different actions. For example, you can create a new row in a Google Sheet. You can send an email. You can post it on Facebook. You can do an update in Skype or any of the 1,000 other apps that are integrated with Zapier and that have actions set up for them. Right now, the only trigger you have in Wordapp is a publisher approving a task. Obviously, we can add more triggers there. We can also add actions there. So if you have any great ideas for that or special requests, please do reach out and we'll see how we can help. All of this is open source, so you can actually do changes yourself there as well. How to start and log in to Zapier. So anyone can use Zapier. You simply go to Zapier.com, you create an account, and you can start using Zapier for free. There are limitations to the free account, but for most people, it is actually sufficient. And you can always upgrade as well if you feel you need some more power, but Wordapp is 100% free to use with Zapier. For Elite Wordappers, they actually get access to our premium Zapier account. It makes it a bit easier. You don't have to use the free features. You have also auto replay and things like that. I'll talk about that in a bit more in detail. And the way you get access is through Dashlane. Dashlane is a password sharing app, and when you become an Elite Wordapper, we will create for you an email address and we will also share Dashlane with you. And on Dashlane, we will start sharing passwords with you for different tools that you need. You get an email just like this where you click get access. You can create an account, it's free. And you can also, if you want, install the Chrome extension so that you automatically get access to passwords. I'll show you guys in a minute how it works in detail, but it's really, really simple if you have the tool installed. And it's very secure, which is helpful as well. Let's hop over to Zapier.com and let's go through one, creating the Elite Wordapper payment sheet, and two, to show you an example of what else you can actually do with Zapier. So I'll just close my presentation and go to the rest of my browser here. First thing is I'll head over to Zapier.com. And if I go to sign in, you see that it actually automatically already fills in the name, and I also have the password here from Dashlane. So I don't need anything here. I can just log in directly. Little bit slow. This is the Zapier app. So first thing we want to do is we want to create an Elite Wordapper publisher sheet. Looks something like this. It has different columns of data with the project name, the focus keyword, task ID, and things like that. The way you start setting this up is simply to go to sheets.google.com and create a brand new sheet there. So for every project that you run in Wordapp as an Elite Wordapper, and that means every project in your project list in Wordapp, this one, you need one sheet. So I'm calling this one Jorn's Eva sheet. for project A. And I start first with adding all the columns that I need. I will copy them over because I am too lazy to write them again. I'll pause for a second. If you watch the recording afterwards, it's very easy for you to get which columns you will need. So these are the columns you need for an Elite Wordapp payment sheet. I'll just take away all these extra columns here so that it looks a little bit nicer. This is the starting point. Now I head over to Zapier.com and I'm going to create a new Zap. Click the button. And here let's give it a name as well. Let's call it Jorn's Project A Payment Sheet. We find Wordapp in the list and select it. You see, this is the trigger here. The trigger is when a content order is approved. Let's use that one. It's the only one also. I have to connect my Wordapp account. You see, there's a lot of accounts here already. So first time you have to connect your own Wordapp account. And after that, it will be saved so that you can reuse it as well. Oh man, something went wrong. Ah, there it is. Because I'm already connected, of course, it is just taking one of the old ones. Normally, you will see a login screen where you can log in with your Wordapp account and then it is connected. So I'm going to use my previous connection. Then I have to select my project. And I have a lot of different projects here. So I'm going to cheat a little bit and I'm going to use someone else's account because there's less projects there. So it's a little bit easier to load and find. Let's see which projects we have. I'm going to take this Casino Content FE. This is my project that I want to do an Elite Wordapp sheet for. It shows that you can actually use multiple projects, but you can't. You can only do one project at a time. Keep that in mind. Continue. Test trigger basically means it's going to pull some data. And here you can see all the data that we're sending, the template ID, the project ID, the language, external ID, source URL, all of the stuff that you have in Wordapp as well. I'll talk about those in a minute. And now when this happens, so when someone approves something in Wordapp, do this. So the thing we want to do is we have this Google Sheet here. I want to fill this with all the data that I need. So I'm going to take Google Sheets. And here you see there's multiple actions that I can do. I can create a spreadsheet row, update the spreadsheet row, create a worksheet, and a whole bunch of other things as well. Of course, I want to add all my tasks in the project in new rows. So I'm going to select create a new spreadsheet row. Same thing here. I need to connect again to my Google account. So at the very bottom, you can connect to a new account. Let's see where my account is. There should be one of me here already. Continue. I need to choose a spreadsheet. Here's my spreadsheet. This is the one we just created, of course. I need to select the worksheet. The worksheet is actually the tab in the project. So I only have one right now, so I can take the first one. So if you want to, you can use one Google Doc, for example, your payment sheet that you have already. You can do multiple tabs where you do different projects if you want. It shows here all the different columns that I've created in my sheet. So these match with these ones. If I create a new column here, and I call it validation, for example, I can, at the very bottom, refresh the fields. When I do that, it shows up here as well. We're not going to need this one. I'll leave it here for now. Now, what I can do is I can insert data into all of these different columns. So anytime when this happens, a new content order is approved in Wordapp, we're going to create a new spreadsheet row and we're going to fill it with the data that is in here. First one, project name, easy one. We select project name, the focus keyword we want. Let's search for the focus keyword, add that one in. Task key ID. I should have an ID here somewhere. ID. The domain. The template price. Uploaded by. So manager first name is who uploaded it, when it was uploaded, started date, published by, publisher username. Always use your username because that one is unique. So then we make sure that it is actually correct. When it was published, publisher date. Validation, I leave empty because we don't actually have anything there. I can click continue. I can test it if I want. So now it's going to send something here. So where there used to be one row, there is a second row now as well, where you see it has filled out all the example things. So we know that it is actually working. When you're all good with it and you say, yes, this is what I want, you can turn your Zap on. Always takes a little while. It's on in the right upper corner, you see. Now, anytime on this particular project, Casino Content FE, if I publish a task, it is automatically sent this data into this Google Sheet. So you will show them up here. Sometimes though, when you create a Zap a little late or you create a new Zap for other reasons, you can also re-trigger all the content. So if you have a Zap running, you can go over to your project in Wordapp, and under the general information tab, the very bottom here, you will see all the connections. This one, of course, has multiple connections because we've been playing with this app already a little bit. But if you select the right one here and you click re-trigger, it takes all the approved and published tasks and it will send them again to the Google Sheet. So if I would click that, all of them would show up here. I'm not going to do that now because it's not really necessary, but all of the old ones that were previously published already will show up. One thing you have to keep in mind there a bit is if you would click that button 3 times, you would have all the tasks here 3 times. So one very simple Excel formula that you could use to double check if the tasks are actually there is to look at one of the unique identifiers, task ID, for example. So I'm just going to copy the task ID here and I'm going to make this one unique. And you can do a formula in an extra column that you call, for example, count if. So count if basically checks how many times a certain conditional count happens across a range. So I select the task ID column and I can select the criteria and I see this one happens 2 times and this one happens 1. If I delete this one, all of them are 1, then I'm good again. I make sure that I have everything unique. It's very helpful to check if you actually have duplicate content in there. Keep in mind that you can actually click on this little formula preview icon where you can see what the delimiter is for your region. For example, in Sweden, instead of using the comma, they use the, I never know the word for this, but the point comma. So this one instead of the normal comma that you would use in English. That's helpful. Also, what you need to keep in mind, if you have this formula here and you would copy it down, Zapier always looks at the very last row that is completely empty. So if I would publish something now, the text would actually show up here. So if you do 1,000 different rows with a formula, because you need a formula for whatever reason, if Zapier comes in now and you publish a text, it would go to row 1002. So at the very, very bottom. So if you lose text, I mean, you cannot find them back, check at the very, very bottom of your spreadsheet. Most probably you will find them there. This is how to set up a Zapier Elite Wordapp payment sheet. So that's a very simple one. The second thing you can do with Wordapp and Zapier is you can actually do a bit more advanced things. You can connect to all kinds of different apps, but one of the things that happens most often is that clients have specific delivery format requests. So in Wordapp, when you have approved tasks, you can, of course, download them. You can export all the tasks as TSV, XML, text, Markdown even. You can also preview the text and see the complete text or the HTML coding. But if you have any other format that you want it in, you can use Zapier to do that very often. For example, here I have done a delivery format request from a client where they want the text data that they have ordered in Wordapp in a specific format. They want the publishing date, the keywords, the meta title and description, the text in HTML format. the H1 header separate, the first paragraph separate with HTML coding. And they also want to do a Facebook announcement page, which is called new text on my site, and then the title of the text. If a client has a specific format they want to get it in, I always ask them to do an example. Because once I have an example, I can see if I can actually do the same thing with Zapier. So what Zapier helps you with is, instead of you manually copy pasting all this data in here for the client, and if you have 5,000 tasks, that gets boring very, very quickly, you can use Zapier to actually automate this. So let's see if we can recreate this for the tasks in the project using Zapier. So I have this up already. I could do a brand new Zap, but since it is actually the same content order that I want, I can also add a second action. So I'm going to do that. You see here, you can do filters, paths, delays, all kinds of things like that. But what I want, of course, is, again, Google Sheets. So not only am I going to, when a new content order is approved, create a row in my spreadsheet for my payment, I'm also in my spreadsheet going to create a row. Again, my account. Now I have to use my account again for the delivery of the client. So I'm going to use the spreadsheet here that is called delivery format request. I'm going to select again the worksheet, sheet 1 in this case. And publish date we already just did. So you can take it from either of the previous tabs. I'm going to take it directly from Wordapp. So I'm going to take the publish date. Keyword we already did as well. So that one you know. Meta title, new one, but works exactly the same way. Meta description, also new one, works exactly the same way. HTML text, luckily also very easy. So HTML content, it takes all the template items content and puts it exactly in here. Here we have a couple though that are a bit different. So what you need to know here is that Zapier is connected to a project, and in that project you will have tasks with different templates. Sadly, with Zapier right now, we cannot actually make distinctions between templates. We always use one goal for everything. And we have something there that we call, let's see here, different parts text, and we also have different parts type. And what those relate to is the template items. So in this particular template here, I have part 1, which is type H1, and the text is the H1 header. The second one is type text, so paragraph, and the text is actually what is written in this paragraph. So if I want to have only the title of the H1 here, since it is the first template item in the text, I want to use the part 1 text. This is the entire text of that template item, of the first template item that it finds when a text is published without the HTML coding. First paragraph, in this case, it is the second template item. You can see it here. So the first paragraph is the second template item. And if I look at the delivery format request of the client, he wants to know also the HTML coding for it. The way I can do that is I can actually use part 2, oops, here, part 2, the text. This is only the text. If I also want to add the HTML coding, I can also add the type with it. So the type is only the HTML parameter, H1 or P or H2 or H3. And you probably know already that if you do HTML coding, you need to have it both at the beginning and the end, the type. And the beginning is always like this, and at the end, you always need to close the tag. So if we do it like this, we actually get the HTML coding, the type is automatically generated, and the text is also automatically generated in. For the Facebook announcement, let's check what the sample wants. It wants the title of the text, and before that, it will always say new text on my site. So since that is a static one, we can just write it. New text on my site. Oops. And we can add in the title, oops, the part 1 text, sorry. The first template item, which is the title of our text, I can actually add it in there as well. So now I can test this one, of course. It'll send an example here. And you see it's exactly taking the meta title content, meta title description content, entire text with HTML coding, entire text without HTML coding for the H1 header. And you see the different things here as well. So now if I publish a text, not only will it create a row in my spreadsheet for my payments, it will also create a row in my spreadsheet where I can actually deliver the client's content in a Google Sheet. Same way like this, you could send it to Facebook. If you want to send, part of your text to Facebook, you can send it to Instagram. There is hundreds and hundreds of different apps that you can use. Make sure, of course, that you turn on your Zap again, otherwise it will not start using. So this is one of the ways where you can use Zapier, and you can be very, very creative with this. I have automated a lot of things up to and including a client who said, please let me know every time a text is ready for, every time a text is published, and he had 5,000 texts. After the first day, when he got 15 messages on Skype in an hour where text is published, text is published, text is published, he said, yeah, okay, please stop now. Everything is good. I don't need to know every time. When you're completely done with a Zap, there is one thing that I want you to keep in mind if you're an elite Wordapper, and that is that I'd like you to organize your Zaps in folders. So if you don't have a folder yet, please create a folder with your name. So you can just call it Jorn Zaps, or whatever your name is, and take the Zap that you actually created. What did I name mine? I cannot even remember it. Let's see. Jorn's project payment sheet. So this one, I will move it to the folder called Jorn Zaps. So that way I can always easily find my Zaps back, and we keep it separated from everyone else so that everyone has their own Zaps very easily within reach. On the current subscription we have for elite Wordappers who have access to our account, we have 125 Zaps that we can have running at the same time. So please, if your project finishes and you don't have any more text in that project, or it will be a while before new text come up, please go in and turn off your Zap so that it stays available for other people. Obviously, we will upgrade when it's necessary to a higher subscription, but I don't really feel that it is in our DNA as a self-funded company to pay $600 extra for something we're not using right now. So please, when you go in, close your Zaps if you don't need them anymore so that everything stays fresh there. This is pretty much what I wanted to go through. If you guys have any questions, please put them in the chat. If you want to see all the different Zaps and things that you can do, in the dashboard, you see connect this app to this app. You can search for anything and everything. So if you have Wordapp, for example, it's here. And send a content order with Gmail. It's even giving you some examples already of Zaps that we've used previously. Send it to Dropbox, save it to Google Drive. But there is a lot of other stuff as well here. Twitter, Slack, you name it. There is probably a connection to Zapier for it. So it is a very, very helpful tool in your arsenal as an elite Wordapper to make clients happy. If there's no other questions, and I don't see any so far, I would like to close it off for today. This is all I wanted to talk about. I hope you find it helpful and you'll be able to manage and get going. If you want to join more courses, go to wordapp.com/courses. This is where not only we publish previously run webinars, but there's also courses where you can sign up and join to learn about writing in Wordapp, writing SEO optimized sample text, building WordPress sites, and many, many other things. So I hope to see you guys soon in a new webinar. Thanks for today joining, and see you soon. Happy Wordapping. Bye, guys.